Hello, everybody. I hope you are doing well on this fabulous Sunday morning. Happy new moon to all those who celebrate. It's Father's Day, so I feel like I should say Happy Father's Day as well if you're a father. And happy Pride Month. I'm so happy to see all of you here. I was reading the chat and I just love seeing all your messages. Good morning. And hello to everyone else where it's not morning. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects in the whole world, and that is the magic of creativity. So here we go. Can everyone see my screen? I'm going to make sure that's happening over there. Okay. So I am sharing my screen right now, and we're going to talk about the magic of creativity, specifically the creative spirit and inspiration and making magical art. My name is Astrea Taylor, and just a bit about me. I have 4 books with Llewellyn, including Intuitive Witchcraft, Air Magic, Modern Witchcraft with the Greek Gods, and my 4th book, which is coming out next month, Inspiring Creativity Through Magic. And that's where a lot of this presentation draws its inspiration. I'm also a fire dancer, and I've written 2 fiction books, as well as poetry, and I've made pottery. I've kind of done a little bit of everything when it comes to creativity, including singing as well. And my biggest message that I want to share with you for this presentation is that all kinds of artists can use magic in their practices. Even if you're just somebody who is new to art and the concept of art, anyone who wishes to be an artist, if you're just dreaming of this, you are in the right place, because I'm going to give you the tips and tools to really join those 2 concepts together and kind of like commit to your art. I'm going to start out this presentation with a quote from Alan Moore. He is a visionary comic artist and graphic novelist. He's also a ceremonial magician. And he has this quote that I just love. And it's art, whether that be music, writing, sculpture, or any other form, is literally magic. And I have to agree with that. I really feel that there's a strong connection between the two. And I'd like to show you the overlap. So we have art in one circle over here and magic in one circle here. And there's definitely this overlap. And between those two, I would say, is art magic. And we see this a lot in the nomenclature and the words that we use. So words like craft, charm, enchantments, incantation, and inspiration. These all have important and valuable meanings in both art and magical realms. And when you put those together, you see how they really overlap. We also would like to have for art magic a specific mindset.
Hey, Astrea. I'm just going to pop on really quick. We can't see your screen share.
Okay, let me just browse this. That's okay.
All right.
It is a beautiful screen. It's like got rainbow colors for Pride Month. So I would like to try to get that going on. But if I can't, yeah, that's okay. System preferences, okay. I do have a great presentation for you all, so I am excited about all of that. Does anyone else feel like it's Mercury retrograde lately? I think it's really kind of fun to do this kind of stuff, but you do run into this from time to time. But my system preferences, if anyone wants to take a coffee break right now, may be a good time to do that. Security and privacy. And then, yeah. we're going to ditch the presentation and I will just talk here. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad I'm not the only one feeling the Mercury retrograde happening. So we have that intersection between art and magic. It's like a Venn diagram where we have that overlap, And I think that, we all are aware of what happens with all of that. We can create this specific mindset for our art magic. We can use creativity. We can set intentions and use magical tools that help us reach our desires and our goals. We can use correspondences, and we can make a ritual and use spirits or work with spirits to kind of enhance what we have going on. Yes, thanks everyone for the technology love. So when I'm talking about creative spirits, there's a couple of different terms that people like to use the most. A lot of people talk about muses, and I think it's beautiful. There's also the concept of the genius, which was repopularized by Liz Gilbert. If you've read Big Magic, this is kind of an extension of that in my own direction, in a very magical, witchy direction. We can also use spirits like the crossroads spirits, our ancestors, the genius, the duende, our guardian spirits, and a lot of other people have said that their other spirits have helped them with their creativity as well, including the fae, deities, angelic spirits, and the familiar. So one of my favorite quotes about creativity comes from Sappho. She's an ancient Greek muse, and she said, "It is the muses who caused me to be honored. They taught me their craft." And that shows you how far back this belief in creative spirits really goes. I also wanted to give you a modern example of someone who works with the spirits as well. And this next quote is from Tori Amos, musician and author. She said, "When we're channeling our muses, we realize we're in collaboration with them and we're like a vessel." You may ask, what is this vessel? What are we receiving when we are working with the muses in this way? You could say that you're receiving the spirit of the creative spirit, flowing through you. A lot of people call that inspiration. And if you just look up inspiration in the dictionary, you can kind of see that it's a very bland definition. They say it's the process of being stimulated mentally, especially to create art. But I believe it's much more than that. I believe it's magical energy given by creative spirits to artists to help them create. If you look at the etymology of the word inspiration, you see it's from the Latin inspirare, which means to breathe or blow into. And anytime we talk about breath, we're bringing up the elements of air. So all these ideas and communications are being blown into our minds. And of course, it brings up the spirit realm as well, because, what is blowing into us? What is giving us this inspiration? It's definitely from the spirit realm. And there are examples of this in art, going back in time, where you just see an artist and their muse and this interaction between them. What's interesting is that everyone experiences this interaction and this inspiration differently. Some people, especially writers or intellectual people, will kind of feel it in their minds, kind of like a dripping, beautiful waterfall sensation, maybe like a cool breeze across their head or something like that. And other people will feel it kind of like in their hearts, especially if they work with their hands. So you would see that with potters or sculptors or someone who's painting, perhaps. They can feel inspiration in their heart and this big swell in their hearts. And then people who are more like performance artists, dancers, they feel it in their feet a lot of times. And it's kind of like the earth is just kind of flowing up to meet them. The spirit is kind of getting into the soles of their feet. And that goes into a lot of the performance art aspects as well. So We see that in art, and there's a rich history with that. And one of the reasons why I decided to write this book is because it just seemed like people weren't talking about a lot of this stuff. They were saying, "Oh, it's inspiration," but they weren't really getting into the magical aspects of it. So I want to talk about how to how to attract the creative spirit. If you're interested in working with the creative spirit, what can you do? So, one of the best things you can do is show up to your creative workspace. You can just come there and just get settled into the place. If you don't show up, it's hard to say if the creative spirit will show up either. If it doesn't know that you're going to be doing this creative work, it may skip out. Another thing you can do is call upon the creative spirit. So, a lot of ancient poets did this, like Homer and Hesiod. They called upon them before they began their work, and you would see it was actually part of the work. They would call upon them and thank them and give them praises. And people to this day still do that. I think one of the best ways to attract the creative spirit is to just begin to create and have fun with your art. I think it's just wonderful to get into that and kind of like have fun, just be playful and find your own rhythm. And one of the best things you could do is get into a creative trance where this energy just kind of flows. When we talk about creative trance, I believe it's an art magic kind of mindset where you create this internal place to connect with the creative spirit. So, wherever you feel it in your body or your mind or just outside of you, if you can cultivate a place to welcome the creative spirit there, it can be really effective to just kind of get into that trance state of mind. And I kind of think of this as the internal workplace. We have the external workplace we go to do our creativity, our art, but there's also this internal part of our minds or our bodies that just lights up. So thank you so much, Kirsten. Yeah, and if you're having problems with the presentation, you may want to come back and log in again, but we'll just keep going here because we have still a lot of wonderful stuff to cover. The best magical art tip that I can give anyone is to ritualize your creativity. And this is a really powerful thing that I feel like it helped me level up from being a beginner artist to really dialing into my style and what I wanted to express, and really giving me the energy to channel that and get that out into the world. So you can ritualize your art. There are a few ideas I have about this. I think one of the most important things to do is to cleanse your art workspace and yourself, because this is a sacred thing that we're doing. We are entering into this sacred mindset, sacred space, and you don't want any spirit hangers on there. So definitely cleanse everything. You want to bless it as well. That would be wonderful. I think it's also helpful when you're trying to ritualize your art if you could set an intention about your time. What do you want to create during this session? Do you want to write a rough draft of a chapter? Do you want to turn some music on and see if you can express the emotion of love? Do you want to sculpt something that kind of like creates the mood of the season? What do you want to do with this short amount of time? And then if you can set achievable and realistic goals about your art and the broader topic and how this fits into it, I feel like that helps too. It gives you kind of some context about where you are with the steps to your grand picture. Like, do you want to publish a book? Do you want to go to the open mic coffee house and jam out with your flutes? Do you want to have a big show at a big theater where you display your talent? Something like that. So having that larger goal, because when we're talking about magic, we don't want to skip that part. We want to put that into our practices and our belief system. And then one of the most helpful ways that you can ritualize your art is to use creative correspondences. So if anyone is familiar with my other book, Intuitive Witchcraft, you know that I believe that we have these correspondences, and we can kind of pick and choose which ones fit for our intuition. So you'll be using your intuition to kind of evaluate which correspondences will help you reach your goal. And one of the best ways to do that, of course, is to break it down into the elements. So with air, the element of air, I like to start there. I like to put on music. Does anyone else like to put on music, like a playlist of a certain mood, and then just like kind of fall into that mood? Yes. And I think earbuds are kind of the magical ingredient because it blocks out all the other noise. And you can really dial into that. Yes. And I love to use incense or essential oils as well because it really transports my mind. Smells enter the brain. It skips the brain and just enters into the nervous system. So we really can feel transported by incense and aromas. And then we can look at the element of fire. I have a candle here. This is a candle that I've used for this book and a lot of my other books. It is a blue candle, as you can see, but I like using the energy of a candle because it has this like mirror quality. I'm expending energy with my art. The flame is expending the energy of the candle. And it's like, we're in this together. Maybe I'm just a Libra, but like this is really helpful for me. And when it comes time, I blow this out, and it just really helps me stay on track. I like check in with it. It checks in with me, and it represents my willpower to keep going. So that's the element of fire. When it comes to water, there's nothing like having a beverage when you are working on your creative work. And it's important to stay hydrated, of course, right? So I think it's important to have a beverage that will help you get there. For a lot of people, that's coffee or tea, something caffeinated. I completely understand that. But for me, I really like hibiscus tea. For some reason, that is my magical ingredient. I don't know why. I've tried a lot of different things, and that's just one of the best things. And then I think the vessel that you drink out of is important too. If you can see, I have a little cauldron mug here. Mostly, I don't want to become distracted when I take a drink. So I take a drink, maybe every 10 minutes or so. That's pretty often. So you want something that's going to resonate with your art and not throw you off. And if it can be kind of dialed into the energy that you want to put out there, that's even better. For instance, if you are making medieval music with a harp, and you can have like a medieval looking goblet that you drink out of, that is your perfect creative correspondence because it'll help you keep that energy and keep going with that and bring even more of that energy into your art. And then lastly, we have the elements of earth. And I think you can use either crystals or herbs. You can use both if you want an extra boost, but each of those has their own kind of element with it. Of the element of earth. So with herbs, they have that diurnal day and night kind of rhythm, and they have an annual lifespan usually, if not a little bit longer, maybe, as long as herbs stay alive. So really, it's a lot shorter compared to crystals, which are below the earth, subterranean, and some of them are millions of years old. And they also have this crystal lattice, kind of like a Lego that has like a structure built into it. So if you're using something with structures, not an organic structure, but like a very kind of like building kind of structure, or if your art has more to do with something that's like a long scale project, then crystals are the way to go. And my favorite crystal to use is sodalite. I use it to help me express myself. This has a traditional correspondence of creativity and expression of oneself. And my book, Inspiring Creativity Through Magic, it has all of the creative lists of these creative correspondences with the elements in it. So you can check that out. It has the traditional meanings, and I added a few intuitive ones that work for me that may not have shown up. I'd like to talk about the element of earth just real quick by bringing up one more quote by someone you may have heard of, Stephen King, the horror writer, of course. He said, "My muse may visit, she may not. The trick is to be waiting there if she does." And what this kind of tells me is that you do have to create the conditions. You have to make everything just right. You have to bring that energy into being and then be in place. In case the muse does show up, you have to get into place. And that's a huge earth element. If you've been struggling to finish your art project, then you may want to use more of that earth energy with your ritual. So I have a few tips for making magical art, and then we're going to go into some questions. So if you have any questions, pop them in the chat, and I will scroll back and try to find some of the ones that will be helpful for everyone to answer. So I have about 6 tips for making magical arts. I think it's really important to use discernment and banish bad spirits. If you're new to working with spirits, this is like Spirits 101. I think that you have to know how to know if it's okay to trust a spirit. Some red flags are if they're taking your energy, if they're draining you, if they're telling you something like it's too good to be true. That's a red flag, and you should really be very cautious about interacting with them. Any bad spirits, feel free to banish them. That's not the right one for you. And my book does go into that a lot more, but I can't understate that. That's probably the first rule or tip that you have for making magical art and working with these spirits. I think it's wonderful if you can maintain your magical mindset as you create. I think that will help you take it even further because, a lot of times we start out a ritual and it's wonderful and magical. And then there can be a slump sometimes. So keep working that magic, keep finding that rhythm. You may need to go at a slower pace or change your breathing a little bit so you can kind of find the perfect mix for you and your creativity and just letting the art flow through you. I also recommend that you experiment. Be like a scientist with these creative correspondences. Just try out different ones, like try peppermint tea. That works for a lot of people. It didn't really work for me quite so much, but when I found hibiscus, I was like, this is perfect, and it was the one. And just keep using whatever works, because once you've dialed into that energy, you just want to repeat it again and again and again, so you can confirm that it is your creative correspondence. You may want to keep track of that as well in a journal. So another thing you can do for making magical art is just feel free to be yourself and express yourself. When we're talking about express, we're using language like to push energy out of, to push something out of. Push your energy into your art. Infuse your art with your energy and your magic. And that's going to go a long way. If you've ever gone to some kind of like a movie and you felt emotionally moved, or if music makes you feel a certain way or magical in any kind of aspect like that, or if you just see art and something clicks in your mind, you're kind of picking up on somebody else expressing themselves and their magic, and you're working with that. So that's wonderful. Another tip I have is to engage with the spirit of your art, which is known as the egregore. So everything has an energy, a spirit, and an intelligence that comes from animistic kind of thinking. And you can engage with that, and it can inform you on how to really give you kind of like what's more of a complete art, like a whole picture. It can suggest certain things or kind of inform you about how the trope of it all is what's expected of it, and how you can fulfill the expectations and feel satisfied and express yourself. And then if you need help, feel free to call upon other spirits or deities. I work with Athena, and I have a creative spirit, but I also have Athena as well. They're not mutually exclusive. I also think it's important to give thanks to them whenever you, like at the end of every session. I like to do that. And then once you reach a milestone or accomplishment, or you get something great with your art, I think it's a wonderful idea to celebrate your accomplishments with them, maybe through a ritual. So I'm going to pop into the chat here and look for some questions. And yeah, thanks everyone for being here. What's a magical way to get past creator's block? Jen Sankey asked that question. So I think what you're asking is basically, when you feel stuck, what can you do? I have a whole section in my book about that. One of the best things I think you can do is just take a break from it. Take a mental break. You can take a shower, take a walk, get some extra communication with your friends. You can also talk about it with someone that you trust, and someone who can give you more ideas and inspiration about your project. And then do the creative ritual. Get your butt in place and ready to go, and let it flow, and then just try. I think one of the most important things with creative block is we think that we can't do something, and then we don't try. So definitely use all of those magical correspondences to help you try to get past it. Yeah, so my favorite way to get in the flow, I really like just anticipating it. I like taking notes for it. And then I feel like I take like some time off, and I just block the time off, and I get into my writing set, like my headset, and get into my writing space, and I just let it flow. And it doesn't have to be good. I think there are a lot of people who have perfectionism issues out there, and that's normal for the society we live in, but it's not healthy or realistic. So having a crappy first draft of something is way more helpful than expecting that everything you do is going to be perfect the first time you write it, the first time you play it with your violin. No, give yourself permission to F up and play a little. Really, it comes down to letting yourself be human. That's what we're expressing with our art the most. Yes, we will polish it later. It doesn't have to be what you put out in the world, but give yourself permission to have fun with it and engage with the art. It'll evolve, and I think it'll tell you what it needs. So my book is coming out July. It's next month. So again, it's inspiring creativity through magic, and you can pre-order it on Llewellyn's website, at your favorite bookstore. I also have signed copies available at my webpage if you'd like to pre-order it, and I'll be shipping it as soon as it comes in. So someone said, the Priestess of Wonderland said, you have a cat named Athena. That's wonderful. And I think cats and our animals can help us with our art too, as long as they don't distract us. I find that my cat likes to sleep next to me whenever I'm working. And in that way, I think that he contributes to my writing. And it's funny, I didn't ever finish my first book until I got that special cat that I just felt I had to get. So I think that our pets can sometimes act as familiars or magical helpers in that way. Can I say more about the egregore of your art? Okay, so think about coffee. I want you to think about your favorite coffee house, right? So we're thinking about the egregore of coffee, and it has like an aroma. It has a sound, right? It has a taste. It has some visual logos. Your art is the same way, but you may not be aware of it because it's not as strong of an egregore as the egregore of coffee. So I think one of the best things you can do to engage with the egregore of your art, or the idea, the energy of your art, is to kind of go into a meditation where you engage with it and you listen to it, you say hello to it, you talk with it. And there is a part in the book about engaging with your egregore. There's a whole meditation about that. So that is my time. I want to thank you all for being here. And you can find me on Instagram and my webpage, AstreaTaylor.com. And I want to thank Llewellyn for having this. And I hope that you'll go to the next few presentations. There's going to be so many great presentations. This is the first of many. And I know I'm going to pop in there too, because that's where I'm going to get some of my inspiration and just learn some wonderful things. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been wonderful talking with you, and I hope you have a great day.